right, welcome to another episode of The Whole Lawyer. You should feel honored because you are the first guest under the new name, The Whole Lawyer. It was previously
Ooh.
Conversate with Akeem D. Earl, is now The Whole Lawyer. And
Ooh.
today's guest embodies what it means to be the whole lawyer. Maame Nyamekye is an adjunct professor, lecturer at American University School of Public Affairs, and currently serves as an associate general counsel at the Maryland office of the Attorney General, where she helps shape legal strategy on issues that impact state government and public policy every single day. Her path in law started at the highest level, interning at the Supreme Court of the United States, and has since taken her through private practice, in-house counsel, and now the classroom. With nearly a decade of experience across different corners of the legal world, Maame brings real-world insight and purpose into everything she does. And outside of the law, she's the voice behind Mother Vessel, a deeply honest podcast where women and mothers share their stories of growth, identity, and transformation. Today, we're talking about how Maame finds balance between service, scholarship, and self, and how she continues to redefine what it means to be both powerful and whole. Please welcome to the podcast, Maame Nyamekye. Welcome to the podcast.
Goodness. Thank you. That was awesome.
Welcome. I try.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
I had to. Your background is so deep and full, so we had to get it all in there.
Wow. Okay. I appreciate that.
Of course. So the opening question to the Whole Lawyer podcast is, if I was not an attorney, I would be a what?
I would be, it's so hard because I feel like, as a lawyer, that becomes your whole identity. Even the way you think, you approach the world, you see the world.
Yes.
So I have to take it back to life before even law school.
Mm-hmm.
And I would probably be doing something in sports. If not playing it, I would be in sports. I was a college athlete. I also coached at the collegiate level.
What sport?
Basketball.
Okay.
Yeah.
What position?
Center.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Doubles. Okay.
Yeah. And I, my undergraduate degree, although it's in business, I had a concentration in sports management. So like sports was my world. So yeah, either I will be playing sports or doing something with sports, and then probably on the side modeling.
On the side, I like that. Did something deter the hoop dreams? Was it plan to go to the W and something deterred it, or?
Well, in my whole basketball story, like I decided to play college basketball later on. So I still remember when I was graduating, I remember there was an invitation to like try out for some European team, and my beloved African father was like,
"You not going over there?
Who's there?" Yeah. But then I also had some injuries with my knees and stuff like that, and then by that time I knew I wanted to pursue law as a career. So I didn't even go to law school straight, but I did return to go and coach at my alma mater for a year.
That's pretty cool.
But yeah, like sports is integrated in my life even to this day. So yeah.
Yeah. Do you follow W at all? Like, do you have a favorite team?
I do, absolutely. The Las Vegas Aces.
You like how Asia killed it this year? I mean, of course.
But it was expected.
Yeah.
It was expected. Yeah, like I mean, Asia Wilson, she's like I don't play about Asia. Yeah, so
I was the finals. Well, I think it was like Game 5, the elimination game, was here in Phoenix, and me and my wife was able to go and see.
You went
the championship game. Yeah, she's a beast. Even seeing her in person is just insane. Just dominant.
She's dominant, it's crazy. But even when you watch her play, like even her fundamentals, like her footwork, her like ball handling, like she really embodies what it means to be a basketball player. And like, I mean, she is the GOAT.
It's efficient.
Yeah.
The levels, the level of skill above everybody else on the court is like you can spot the best player on the floor.
Yes,
for sure.
And she gets better each and every year. And she's only been in the league for like 8-9 years, and it's like
crazy.
Yeah, but
shout out to Asia. Shout out to
Asia Wilson. I'm a big fan, Asia. So yeah.
Right. Dope. Okay, so hoop dreams didn't work out. How did you get into the law? What made the transition? How did that work?
It's an interesting story. I wasn't one of those that, by the age of 6, I knew I was going to be a lawyer. I wasn't one of those that I had, people in my family that I knew of that were attorneys. So
Yeah.
we're talking about lack of representation, lack of exposure.
Yeah.
As far as I can remember, the closest thing I knew of law was Judge Judy. And I just loved the way she would rip people to pieces. And just that power that she had, but just that, that intellect and just everything. But it was far reached, if that makes sense. Like, I just like, oh, okay, I see it, but how to go to law school, what it takes, I remember growing up, like I just alluded to. So I grew up in a African household, specifically Ghana, a Ghanaian household. And so if you've spoken to anyone who's of African descent, Asian descent, you're usually told doctor, lawyer, engineer, or whatever, right? But my father, he would always be like, Mama, you should consider law. Like the way you argue in the house. Listen, I will call a family meeting together, okay? So
we gotta discuss these dishes.
Yeah, and I'm the oldest, so like it's just, and I was just like, no, I just felt like being the oldest child, strict household. I was just like, for once, I do not want you to tell me what to do. You know how they say, if you want God to laugh, tell him your plans.
Facts.
So I remember in college, and I'll get to all of it. I remember in college, I was graduating. I didn't know what I wanted to major in, and I I took some like college assessment quiz, and the results produced sociology, and I felt so proud. I came home and I told my father that, oh, I'm going to major in sociology. Lord. And no offense to anyone who has majors in sociology, study sociology, but my father was like, who? What?
Right. What
my
is
child?
That? Yeah.
He was like, socio what? No. I was like, Dad. He was like, if you're going to major in sociology, I'm going to just send you to PG County Community College. And I was like, what? I'm trying to get out the house, So my dad actually gave me, in the midst of all that, he gave me one of the best advice that I still hold true today. He was like, if you do not know what to do, major in business, because everything is a business. And so he started explaining to me, like, even look at hospitals, it's a business. Like, everything is a business. So if you do not know what to do, at least go into business and learn about what it means to be a business, how to run a business, the different aspects of business. I was like, okay, fine, whatever. I, at that point, had decided I was going to Marymount University. So Marymount had a business major, but they also had a concentration in business law and paralegal studies. So I was like, oh, to appease this man, I'll just add the business law and the paralegal studies. I think I added it because at orientation, I found out they had in a friend of mine was like, oh, I'm doing paralegal studies. And I was like, oh, I guess I'll just add it, right? Clueless. And that's so unlike me because I'm a type A, like I know my plan A to Z. So I majored in business and business law. I loved my business law courses. I didn't really like my paralegal courses though. I was like, if I'm bored doing the homework, I'm going to be bored doing the work. So I think halfway through my college career, they introduced sports management. So I didn't tell my father. I dropped the paralegal studies and added the sports management, but I did my due diligence. I made sure that all my credits would transfer over because my dad made it very clear to me, you're going to college, and yes, you say you want to play basketball in college. Okay, 4 years and you're out. Not 4.5, not 5 years, 4 years and you're out. So I knew that whatever I needed to do to make sure that I could still graduate within 4 years, even with that change. And it all worked out. So going into my junior year, now as a business law and sports management major, and Marymount requires you to complete an internship in order to graduate. So you can do all your courses. If you do not have an internship, you will not walk across that stage. I've seen 5th, 6th, 7th year seniors walking on campus because they have
doing the internships.
And they were really stringent on it. Like people would try to make up internships and they will not approve it. Yeah. So I had the very unique opportunity to get 2 internships. And the one internship was at the Supreme Court of the United States.
How did you pull that in undergrad? You don't just stumble upon an internship at the
No, I
Supreme
didn't even
Court?
know they had internships. I'm being very honest. I didn't know. And you'll probably hear me say this throughout, but it's honestly all God.
That's real.
To this day, so and she's still my close girlfriend to this day. But we were friends in college, and we were talking about something, and I still remember I didn't want to go home that weekend to my home church. And so she was like, well, why don't you come with me to DC, because I'm going to visit my grandfather's church. We're celebrating his birthday, and you can just come over. And I was like, okay, let me just do that. Part of me was being rebellious because my dad was telling me I should come home for church, but that's a whole nother topic. So I went with her, and great service. I got to meet her family, and I remember one of her uncles was like, hey, how are you? Who are you? It was a little bit more than just, oh, you're Courtney's friend.
Yeah.
He was asking a lot of questions like, so what are your plans? What do you want to do? And stuff like that. And to this day, I don't remember my responses. But clearly it was impressive enough, because at the end of the conversation, he pulled out his card and was like, when you are ready for internship, just call me. And when I looked at the card, he was the deputy clerk at the Supreme Court.
Man.
I called.
Of course.
And yeah, so I got that internship, but then also that summer I had an internship with what is now the Washington Commanders. So at that time it was the Washington Redskins. So it was perfect because I had an internship that fulfilled the law aspect of my education, but then also an internship that fulfilled the sports management. And I only needed one. Yeah. And that summer I did both internships. And I will tell you, the Supreme Court internship, it changed everything for me. I mean, I think a lot of times people, and rightfully so, they think of it as the highest court in the land, like, oh my goodness, like the justices, like even to argue before the Supreme Court, yes. But to be within that institution and actually see it as an institution and how all the pieces work together changed my whole outlook. And I interned at the clerk's office. And I mean, you get to meet the law clerks of the justices, the marshal aides. But what stood out to me was that there were attorneys who worked in the Supreme Court. We don't oftentimes think of that. And if you really think of it, they're like in-house counsel, right? They are doing
I didn't think about that.
Legal work there. And I remember there was one attorney that he stood out to me. And I was just like, oh my goodness. Like, I got to see an attorney in a different light. He was a graduate of UB Law, which kind of first introduced me to the fact that, okay, I could probably think about UB Law. But I knew leaving that internship, I didn't know what area of law, but I knew I need to be in the legal profession some way, somehow.
What specifically did you see that drew you to the law? Was it the advocacy? Was it the way things worked? Was it the law in and of itself? Like, what specifically drew you in?
I think there is, I think the atmosphere. Like, it was just being in the atmosphere. Like, you see the Chief Justice, but you don't see him in his robe. You see him at like an employee event, right? You're like, that is the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. And he just said hello to me, like as if I'm another employee.
Eating cheese and crackers in the corner.
Right. I still remember, running into RBG in the elevator. Yes. And I'm very tall. And if
I'm about to say, like, was she like really short?
Yeah, and she looked up at me. And she kind of smirked, like, this little young girl, she don't know what she's doing. But
oh my goodness.
But like that, and then I had the opportunity to meet some of the other justices, sit in their chambers and just speak with them and hear from them about their journey, just personally but also professionally. Speaking with the attorneys who worked in the clerk's office and the work that they did, I just couldn't put my finger on exactly what I wanted to do with law, but I just knew that this was the profession for me. Yeah, like I knew that this profession was it for me. Like, you see attorneys coming into the court ready to prepare and go before and argue, and it's just like there was some excitement in me that was like, I don't know how we're gonna get to become a lawyer, but I knew I wanted to do it. But then also interning with the Washington Commanders, I got to see the business side of a whole organization, right? We see a football team and is what we see on Sunday, or Monday Night Football or whatever. But to see the business operations behind, I was just like, oh, this is the intersection of business and law. Like, I've been studying this and now I see it. And like, it just sparked a whole interest in me.
That's fire. So how come this didn't lead you to be a sports attorney or entertainment lawyer or trademark maybe, or sports agent?
Yeah, I had thought about it. I had thought about sports law and things like that. So fast forward a few years later, I went to law school. And that's a whole nother thing in of itself, because I was like, okay, God, how did I make it here? I still remember my first semester. I refused to buy sports gear, but school gear that would say like UB Law, because I was like, if I don't pass this semester, there's no proof that I even attended.
I don't want no merch. I want
no merch. Like, I was just like, there's no proof. Like, I doubted that myself, that imposter syndrome. And so UB Law has a really good, and for those who don't know, that's University of Baltimore School of Law. But UB Law has a really good program called the Explore program. And they highlight and really advertise that program. And it's actually one of those programs that it actually exists. You know how sometimes schools will just say, oh, we have this and this, and then you go to the school, you're like, where is it?
Right.
No. UB Law, the Explore program is cemented in the school program. And it's basically an opportunity for students to be placed in an internship following their first year. So either within a court or within a law firm.
Nice.
And it's just an internship that you have. And, alums, a way to give back, they open up their law firms for a UB 1L, or, if you are, a judge, you say, okay, you can come in, intern for the summer. So I had the opportunity to do that because, mind you, I have no one in my family that is a lawyer, right? Like, I don't even know how to even get this experience of, the legal experience. So I had the opportunity to intern with a small law firm. And the founding attorney, who, she's very dear to me to this day, a mentor, our families know each other, but her whole practice was church law. Yeah.
That's an area of law. I did not know.
It's an area of law. Yeah. Wow. Church law. Yeah.
That's crazy.
She's known as the church attorney. Shout out to Eureka Cole. Yeah. So I got introduced to that, and it was actually perfect because I got to bring in some of my understanding of business law, because if you think about it, if you form a church, you kind of form it like just a different type of business.
Yeah.
Right? And churches, they need legal representation. They have legal issues. So the firm represented churches, represented religious organizations, represented charities and small businesses as well. So once I got into that, and I grew up in the church, so it was just like my worlds were coming together. And I started on that path, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is like really cool. So I kind of just, continued on that path. And I think eventually, decided that, okay, I want to go in-house, because I knew I wanted to be an in-house counsel eventually in my career. But I think if the opportunity had presented itself with sports law or entertainment law, then perhaps I would have, but it's never too late.
So, it's definitely never too late to pivot. Once you get that law degree, you can easily pivot into not easily, but you could enter into different spaces.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's never too late. But I really do enjoy what I do and how my career has kind of panned out over the years.
Yeah. So to take a little small pivot, speaking of pivot, we're gonna do bar exam horror story. We're gonna we talked about interning in the Supreme Court, having to go to law school, church, all these different things, but you had to take the bar exam. Give the audience a bar exam horror story.
I don't know if I would say horror story, but I can share my experience.
Yes.
I remember, okay, and I'll just be very transparent. Going into law school, I still remember my first year, and someone was like, oh yeah, the bar exam. And I was like, wait, what's that?
Facts. Yeah, exactly.
Wait, you mean after I get this degree, I got to do something else?
I got to do something.
And that speaks to like...
You mean really more work on top of the 3-4 years I already do?
I was really trying to, I was like, wait, what you mean I got to take exam? Wait, how many days is it? 2 days? So after 3 years of my life, and then I got to do that. So I
then
had
an extra summer.
already, yeah, I had already like kind of psyched my mind that like, man, I'm really gonna have to do this. And naturally, I am not a good standardized test taker. So I was like, oh Lord, another standardized test. Oh gosh, I had to do the LSAT. Like, okay.
Terrible.
So what I did was that my third year last semester, I made sure I took courses that did not require an exam because I knew I had to save up my brain cells.
Yeah.
So, and I knew that I would have to devote my time, and I had told myself I want to take this exam only once. And many people have to take it multiple times, and it does not mean they're not smart. It doesn't mean that they're not great attorneys. But I just knew I'm only giving myself one time, and also I don't have the money
Facts to do this, to pay for
to
another
do
course.
this again. Like I just didn't in my in my state. I mean, it's expensive, and then the bar course and everything. So what I did was I turned off my cellular service. I told my parents, if you need to call me, it has to be emergency only. And I remember my friend Marcel, who's my brother, he was like, and people who know me, they're like, okay, she's crazy, but we know she means it. But he was like, okay, but you're a female. You're going to be driving from campus late at night back home. Like, God forbid something happens with your car. We need to reach you. So I was like, okay, he makes a point. Bet. So I went to Walmart and bought a $20 burner phone and gave that number out to select individuals.
How much was the burner phone?
Walmart. They sell them.
You lucky the Fez wasn't. You lucky the Fez wasn't after you. Like, why you buying a burner phone?
But I thought my phone would be a distraction because, like I said, I'm the oldest, right? So I'm used to my family always calling me. But then, too, remember I said I can't afford to take this exam again. So if I can even cut my phone bill,
fact, save some money.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, I could buy a burner phone for $20, put a couple of minutes on my phone, and so I did that for the whole summer. I knew it was bad when one day I got to the library and I opened my laptop and I see an email from my sister. And she's like, Mom and Dad have not heard from you.
Oh my goodness.
Are you okay?
She hit you up on Yahoo? Yahoo
She hit my Gmail and I was like, oh gosh, this is bad. I didn't even realize I had lost so much weight. And I'm naturally a slender person, but my friend Marcel, he actually lived across the street from me. So he would just keep an eye, like if my lights are on, he'll know I'm home. But after a while, he didn't see me for some time. And so one day I came home very late and I hear a bang on my door. And Marcel knows like the type of treats I like. So he had a bag. He went to Target, got me my Twizzlers and stuff. But I still remember when I opened the door, he looked and he was like, where's the other half of you? I was like, what do you mean? He was like, oh no, you have lost too much weight. I was like, oh, Marcel. He was like, no, where's the other half of you?
You didn't realize. That's real. That's so real. That's good to hear because people need to understand, for the people who haven't taken the bar yet, the type of focus and dedication you need. Yeah. And some may think what you did was extreme, but I don't think it was extreme. I went all the way to Arizona to study for the bar. I was in DC at the time, and I went to my mother-in-law's house and stayed in the desert for 2 months because I get the idea of like, I need to isolate. If I have my phone on, people are going to be texting me. I'm going to be on social media. I'm going to get FOMO. I'm going to want to, let me step out for a little bit and you get sidetracked. The level of dedication to take it once and pass. Yeah. It takes that level of dedication sometimes.
And Beyonce came into town that year. This is how you know it's real, because my girlfriend called me and she was like, okay, we're going to B's concert. And I was like, girl, I'm not going. She was like, what? She came into town. I drove her to the concert.
You're just torturing yourself. That's ridiculous.
And I said, call me when it's time to pick you up because I'm going to.
But now you're crazy. I'm like, you're going to call you an Uber.
She was like, oh, you are serious? You're not going. I said, oh, no. It's this bar exam or Beyonce. Beyonce's not going to help me pass this bar exam.
Nope. No, she ain't.
that, yeah, I kind of went, I mean, I changed my diet. It was crazy. And glory be to God, I passed on the first time, even though I thought I failed. But yeah, guys, you don't have to do exactly what I did because it's a little OC. But
I think the theme is have some self-awareness, like understand where you lack when it comes to studying, where it comes to focus. And whatever you think is like the thing you need to do, probably do 2 times that, because you have to be able to understand and know yourself. And if you feel like you said, if you're trying to pass it on the first time and you're dedicating 2-3 months to this, you have to make some sacrifices. You got to sacrifice Beyonce. You can't see Beyonce.
I can't. But you know what? Now I can afford her.
Exactly. Because you got this degree.
Yeah. Yes.
So you got the degree, passed the bar, you're practicing. You're now a professor at American University. I always say, just because you're a good lawyer doesn't make you a good teacher or professor. I've had professors in law school who are brilliant in their careers, amazing attorneys, but they were terrible professors, because I believe that teaching is an entirely different skill. Do you agree with that? And how were you able to develop the skill of teaching along with being a practicing attorney?
Yeah, it's interesting because I've been teaching for a couple of years now. And American, I think, I've taught at a few other institutions as well. One thing I will say is, as an attorney, there is an educational component, and it's whether you acknowledge it or not, right? And I think even in my field, where I may not be in the courtroom, but I'm in the boardroom. So I am speaking with non-lawyers, business professionals. I'm speaking with, early in my career, church leaders. I'm speaking with, so I have to be able to deliver without the legalese. I have to be able to present legal concepts and break it down so that the average person can understand. And one of the things I wanted to provide as a teacher is what I found sometimes teachers didn't give me. I grew up, African American. I grew up in a Ghanaian household. I didn't have that same representation as others, right? I need to just keep it simple and break it down for me. Keep it real. Like, let me just understand what it means. Like, yes, there's this term and what it means, but like, it doesn't mean I'm, less intelligent or anything, right? And I remember the classes that I thrived the best in was because teachers were able to present legal concepts and break it down. And early in my career, I had to learn that when it comes to advising my clients. My clients sometimes is in-house counsel is your employer, right? And how can you speak to the chief of finance, right? And you're presenting all this legalese. Like, there's going to be a disconnect. If I'm communicating with the CEO and they do not have a legal background, there's a disconnect. So I have to learn how to break it down. And I've taken that same skill into the classroom. So students, most of my students are undergraduate students, this is their first introduction to law. Already, law is intimidating, but it's also exciting. And they're reconciling what they see in the media with what you're teaching them. So, like, yes, there are attorneys that, and they will admit that, okay, I would not do well in the classroom, right? There are, just because you're an attorney doesn't necessarily make you a good teacher. I think another thing that helped me, though, was motherhood. If I'm able to negotiate and break things down to my 9-year-old, my 5-year-old, and now my 18-month-old,
wow,
I can communicate to anyone.
Man,
like, yeah, it's like, because I have to bring myself down so that they can understand and get the message that I'm delivering.
Right.
If I'm
be
here
patient.
be patient. And if I'm here to, introduce, like I tell my kids, this is a life lesson. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have to somehow deliver that message and bring in examples and so forth. And it actually gets kind of fun for me to do that. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
even in the classroom, I bring real world, things that happen, things that you see on TikTok, things
Mm-hmm.
that you see in the news. Like, I remember, was it last year, one of my courses, we were talking about intellectual property. And I was like, I know you guys have seen a TikTok of very demure, very mindful, And then I brought in the fact that, that content creator had filed I think it was a trademark application.
Mm-hmm.
And then I brought that in to talk about the trademark application
Nice.
process and everything. And they got it, right? They
Yeah.
understood it. When we're talking about like contracts and so forth, I'm going to use an example. Like, okay, let's say you work for Pepsi and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk about that. If we talk about criminal law and talking about, okay, the process, what better case to talk about than the Diddy trial? you know?
Man.
Yeah. And then we
Yeah.
break it down. So
Pretty good.
it's been fun for me.
Yeah. So generally, what classes do you teach in law school?
So I teach undergrad. So I have taught business law. I've taught intro to systems of justice. I've taught paralegal studies. I've taught intro to the law. You name it. Yeah. So I'm undergrad, which I love
Nice.
because you get to relate with the next generation.
Mm-hmm.
I actually had a aha moment because we were talking about something and I was trying to refer them to 9/11. I was like, guys, this happened in your lifetime. And they were like, Professor, we weren't
Did
born.
not.
I was like, oh,
Did not. They don't
okay.
know about no 9/11.
Yeah. So it's like I learn a lot from them, but then I have the opportunity to pour back and to the next
Yeah.
generation, and it's my way of giving back.
Yeah. You said something earlier about teaching them, and because they're influenced by media and they have a perception of the law in the world. How is it teaching Gen Z or Gen X when very social media driven, very new age ideas and all these different things? How have you seen that in the classroom in these students?
Yeah, it's different. I'm a millennial, so it is different. It is different of how they see the world, how they approach life. Some of the concepts or the things, like I had to learn something the other day about girl math. Have you heard of
Oh
that?
Lord, yes, I
They
have.
taught me that in the
Jeez
classroom.
Louise.
We were talking about we were talking about UCC and talking about checks and going to the because they're like, check, what's that?
Oh my
And
God.
yeah. So then we were talking about like different things in the equivalent of cash, and they were like, girl math. I mean, if it's and I was just like, what's girl math? And so I
Oh
welcome
Lord.
I welcome their world into the classroom. It was
Mm-hmm.
in the classroom that I learned about the word, is it Riz?
Riz, yes, Riz is one of them. I
Yeah,
don't know if that's even popping no more. They said that's old news now. So.
clearly I'm old. But so I just say that to say, like, I welcome that into the classroom because I still think that it doesn't change the fact that what I'm teaching them is going to impact them some way, somehow. And how they
Right.
relate to it and identify with it is just the way they identify because that's their generation. So
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm doing myself a disservice and themselves if I try to distance myself
Mm-hmm.
from their world. Like, I actually need to embrace it. Now, do I agree with all of their approaches on things? And, no. But that's why we're different generations. But I embrace it. I accept it in the classroom. If that's an example that you're going to remember for the test, okay, we'll take it.
We'll use it. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's real.
Yeah.
So, along with you being a professor, you also work for the Maryland Office of the Attorney General. How in the
Mm-hmm.
world do you manage both to teach at a college and have a full-time job for the government? And then you can also explain what you do for the Maryland government.
When I became a mother, I realized that balance is a myth. It's a myth. Like I enjoy the work that I do. I have the opportunity to, as you mentioned, be in-house counsel at the state's largest law firm.
Mm-hmm.
The Attorney General's office represents most of the state agencies. So I have a very unique opportunity to bring my experience as in-house counsel to a state government agency, I have the opportunity to work with the leaders of the office and the other attorneys. I think a lot of times people don't realize the AG's office is the law firm, basically. So the vast majority of the employees are attorneys. So I have a unique opportunity to, as we like to say, as Office of General Counsel, be the lawyers for the law firm. And so balance, it's a myth.
It's figured out.
Yeah, you figure it out. Like, I definitely make sure that my responsibilities don't interfere and conflict with each other. I try to keep to a really good schedule. I also have a family as well. I have 3 kids, so it's like sometimes people think it's too much, but just the type of person that I am, I actually am a little bit more satisfied when I'm busy.
I feel that.
It's weird. Like if I'm not, I feel like I'm not doing enough.
Right. Or you're not exploring all of the interests that you have. Like
yeah,
you have
I
all
feel
these
like
ideas, come up all these skills. Like I need to
I feel like
of them.
I gotta explore all of them. Now maybe do I need to explore all of them at the same time?
That's a different conversation.
That's a different conversation. God is still working on me with that.
Right. No, I feel that.
But no, I love the work that I do. I love, that I get to render my services now back to the state that I was born and raised in. I live in, in Maryland. So it's very rewarding and very special.
That's dope. So for somebody who's interested, let's say being a general counsel, like what does a day-to-day look like? Are you in court? Are you behind your desk all the time? Are you in other people's offices? Like what's a regular Tuesday as a general counsel?
Yeah, it varies with organizations to some extent, but you are the in-house counsel. So depending on the structure, the legal issues that come up when it pertains to operations, it pertains to HR, contracts, data related matters. If the organization gets sued, you're the first line of defense, right? If we need to hire outside counsel, you're the liaison, right? You're overseeing the outside counsel because they're being hired by you. Now you're their client, right? So it varies in different capacities. Like I previously, I served as in-house counsel for a very large organization where we were a small legal team, but the organization that I worked at, we served 1.5 million members across the nation. So the things that I would be working on there is completely different from government. Some things to the same extent, like contract related matters, HR related matters. But like, let's say your organization says, hey, we want to, I still remember this. This is one that happened at my former place. They wanted to run a nationwide raffle across the nation. I had to learn raffle and sweepstakes law.
Gosh, that's great.
Now you ask me, I could tell you, I could spit it out to you. Right. But I had to, I had to learn that. I had to then advise the non-lawyers who are like the president and so forth about that. But that's what in-house legal counsel do, because it's like we're looking at you first before we look outward. And it gets interesting because you also have to, as in-house counsel, be able to identify what's a legal risk versus a business risk. And a lot of times people, as lawyers, we're just trained to assess risk and potential, legal ramifications. But to a non-lawyer, business person, okay, that's why we hired you, so you could figure that out. But this is the business risk here. This is what the potential cost is. But this is the potential reputation for us. This is how it can impact us from an operation standpoint. So you are balancing legal risk and business risk. I think something that, you have to learn when you're in-house counsel is you do not, if you are presented with a question or an idea, your first response shouldn't be no. Naturally, as attorneys, we're like, no, you can't do that because you're violating the law, right?
Yeah.
My last option will be no. It's going to be, okay, let's see how we can do it so we maintain legal compliance but still achieve your business goals. And if for whatever reason I have to say no, it's my responsibility. I need to present you with some alternative options to consider. Like, example, the raffles one. Mm-hmm. That one, there are a lot, here we go with the raffles law. There are a lot of legal restrictions with that. So instead of saying, no, you can't do it, like scratch that whole idea out. Okay, this is what you want to achieve. We can still achieve it, but let's do it as a sweepstakes. And here's the alternative. This is the reasons why. This is how it actually will benefit you. This is how we'll minimize legal risk here. So that's kind of how you have to shape your mind when you're in-house counsel, which is a little different. And I don't think law school really prepares you enough to think like that, if that makes sense.
And that's what I was going to ask. Like, is that process intimidating to be presented with a legal issue and you have no clue? Same thing with like church law. Like, I don't know about church law. I have to figure out how to do this. Sweepstakes law. Is that process intimidating because you get this question and now obviously it just goes to like research and going into the Googles and the Lexis and the Westlaw's. But is that process intimidating to have to now figure out a whole new area of law that you didn't learn in law school, you haven't practiced, and even talking about like pivoting to like a different area of law, you're gonna have to go through that learning curve all over again.
Yeah, I still remember when I first had to handle employment matters. And I was like, oh my God. It's intimidating, but it's exciting though, right? Because I get to solve an issue. Now, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I know that I have the skills. I'm equipped with the skills to solve this issue. I know how to research. I know how to write. I know how to analyze, right? You know, like you have those skills, right? You know how to strategize. So it's a matter of figuring out how I'm going to do this and achieve the goal for my client. So yes, it is intimidating at first. Like at first I'm like, oh crap. But it's also exciting. And maybe it's just me, you know, with the intersection of business and law coming together. But it's like, I also get to see a different world besides just the law. I get to kind of step into the mind of, you know, whether it's the chief operating officer or the, you know, chief finance officer or the business manager, and kind of understand and see their world. And let's see how we can meet together. And I love being that person that they can rely on. I love being a part of those discussions that they have. I always tell them, don't call the lawyer after you guys have talked about the idea. Let's bring me in when you're
to the
brainstorming.
Process.
Yeah, let me be a part of that process.
So you don't gotta be let down on the other end. Like if you just have me here in the first process, you won't be all excited, and you come to me like you can't do that.
Exactly. So it's a fun world.
Dope. Speaking of fun, we're now going to play a game called This or That. It's simply what it sounds like. Is this or that? I give you two options and you choose one.
Okay.
LexisNexis or Westlaw?
Westlaw.
Really? Why? I'm a Lexis guy. Why Westlaw?
Really?
Yeah. I was Westlaw in law school, but for doing practice, Lexis just drew me in.
Maybe I haven't touched LexisNexis since law school.
Since law school.
Yeah, I'm a Westlaw girl. I love practical law on Westlaw. I swear by it. Now Westlaw, I'm sure LexisNexis has it, but Westlaw now has their AI feature as well, which, I mean, you still, you know, kind of verify and things like that. But
yeah,
I'm Westlaw all the way.
Got you. Coke or Pepsi?
Neither.
No soda.
No soda.
Simba or Mufasa?
Simba.
What? You choosing Simba over the OG?
Simba.
Why Simba? We gotta break this down.
Okay, first of all, Mufasa's death was too tragic. And that's so funny you asked me that, because Lion King is one of my favorite movies.
That's exactly why I asked you. I do my research.
One of my favorite movies. But Simba, I mean, just his resilience, how he overcame tragedy, but just also like his that young, naive spirit, but then how he stood up for what was right, and then let's get into how he met Nala. Okay, guys, you can tell
love story.
Movie. Right, don't get me into Lion King 2 and Lion King 1.5.
1.5 is underrated. People don't talk about 1.5 enough.
Talk about that 1.5.
1.5 is underrated.
But yeah, so.
Got you. All right, another Lion King one. Circle of Life or Can You Feel the Love Tonight?
that intro to Circle of Life, that
Goated.
intro hits.
It's
It
goated. Yeah, every
hits.
time. Every time.
That intro,
It
like,
hits you right there in the soul.
Circle of Life.
Got you. Would you rather get the most points in the game or the most rebounds in the game?
That's so interesting you asked that. I'm gonna go with rebounds, and I'll tell you why.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was known for rebounds.
Mm-hmm.
I had the school record for rebounds. At one point, I was leading the nation in D3 hoops for rebounds. And yeah, I'm actually being inducted into the Hall of Fame in January. Yeah, so
What? Congrats,
yeah.
first of all. That's
Thank
fire.
you. Yeah, now that's public and they put it out there. But yeah, so I mean, I'm all about the double doubles, but the rebounds, that was my thing. Like that's yeah.
Hey, look at these highlights. Let me go on YouTube
Yeah.
and check these highlights out. Oh, that's
Yeah.
so dope. That's so
Yeah.
dope. All right, so you don't only kill it on the court, clearly Hall of Famer, but you also kill it in a podcast. You have a podcast called Mother Vessel. We talked about exploring motherhood, being a woman. What made you start this podcast?
Becoming a mother. I mean, I think it's one of those things that like nothing can really prepare you for it. It's even like marriage too. It's like you see marriages and so forth, but like your journey is unique to you and your partner, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so with motherhood, one thing I learned quickly, baby, the quicker I surrender, the easier it is, because I was type A, I have to have everything in order. And motherhood really lets you know, like, you think you're in control, but you're really not. And when I realized that, oh my goodness, I had this image of motherhood, but the reality, like the things that we as women go through, I feel like we're not talking about it enough. And I realized that women carry so many stories, but we just don't know how sometimes or who we can share it with. And then another thing I realized was that we look at motherhood as just you had to birth a child, but people experience motherhood in various ways. I still remember when I think I was like 25, 26, and two of my girlfriends asked me to be the godmother of their daughters, their firstborn. I was very honored because I was like, well, first of all, you trust me that much. But, it's like I have a role to play as their godmother, right?
Mm.
There are women who, they do not birth their own child, but they're an aunt and they mother children.
Mm-hmm.
So I realized that motherhood is actually bigger than what we as a society perceive it as. And
Mm-hmm.
as I started speaking with women, I realized, oh my goodness, I feel like we need to be sharing these stories. I think a lot of times we think that, oh, okay, you're going to get pregnant and become a mother. But there's some people who don't, you know, unfortunately, they lose a child, during the process. There are some people that they experience life tragedy during the process. There are some women who say, I do not want to be a mother. But then, yes, society, we shun them and it's just like, oh, you're less than a woman. So I
Mm-hmm.
felt like I had my story, but it was also worth hearing other women and their stories. So on the podcast, I've had the opportunity to sit down with amazing women and just let them share their story. It's a safe space. We
Mm-hmm.
have in-depth conversations. There are some experiences that I can't relate to, but I can empathize and hear and, really, embrace their experience. I've had people come and talk about a stillbirth, and we don't talk about that a lot in our community,
Mm-hmm.
especially as minorities. We do not talk about that a lot. I've had, a woman come on there and talk about being a foster mom. She wanted to be a
Mm-hmm.
foster mom. She's single, not married, but wants to be a foster mom. But then we know society, there are a lot of myths about foster parents.
Yeah.
But when she opened up about her experience, I was like, oh my gosh. I didn't even think I could relate with you on certain things, but I
Yeah.
can. I had one woman who, God rest her soul, but She was diagnosed with breast 4 cancer after she had her third child. We don't think about that. We think when someone, is diagnosed with cancer, they're older. She was in her early 30s.
Wow.
And, handling motherhood, but also taking care of her body because, the doctors are saying stage 4 is aggressive. I've had a woman come and talk about the NICU experience, not once, but twice, and that experience together. So it's been a very eye-opening experience. It has changed and shaped me. And I'm thanking the women for trusting me with their stories, but they are then again thanking me for allowing them to share their stories.
Sure.
And I tell all women that we are mothers in our own rights and we are vessels. We're pouring out. A teacher can, serve in a mother role, and it's like they're pouring out to the next generation. So yeah, sure. It's been a good journey.
That's awesome. I heard on one of your episodes you were talking about motherhood and career, and you felt like you've been through a process of people possibly seeing you as not being able to handle, or seeing you as less than, or seeing not being capable of handling both. I find that so interesting to me because obviously I work in different law offices, and I've seen pregnant women. I've seen pregnant women do trials. I've never looked at them and said, "Hey, you must be struggling." It's like, no, they handling their business. Can you talk to an experience or speak to an experience where you felt like people have treated you less than, or felt like you might not be able to handle all this, or we would take some off your plate? How has that experience been?
It's hard because I feel like we treat women within the workforce differently when we find out that they're expecting or they have children or so forth. And it's like, let's all remember we're human and we all came in this world through a woman. Right? It's hard. People are like, well, will she be able to still, meet the expectations, fulfill her requirements, or feel like they're doing me a favor by saying, oh, we took this off for you because, well, no, let me make that decision, not you.
I'll let you know if it's
too much. I'll let you know, right? I'll let you know. I've had to speak up for myself. I've had to make career changes and job changes because one thing I was not going to do was allow you to interfere with my role as a mother. So it's been challenging, but then again, there have been people who have been so gracious. I still remember my last pregnancy. I can say this now. So I think I had a certain number of weeks that was covered, paid. And I think I was taking like a full 16 weeks or something like that. I had men on the job who donated their PTO and sick time to me to ensure that I took the full 4 months. Men, and a lot of them were Black men.
Shout out to Black men.
Yeah, a lot of them were Black men. So I say that there have been some challenges, and it's disheartening, right? Because I know I'm capable. I oftentimes tell people I actually became a better attorney once I became a mother, and I'm not saying that's the case for everyone else. That's just me. The way I saw the world, with the way I prioritized, the way I strategized, like. Two grown people fighting at work. I had to go fight with my 5-year-old on what shoe to wear. At this point, your issue, I can remove emotions and we can just okay. Let's get to the issue, right? If I can negotiate with my 2-year-old, if you're more difficult than that, the problem is you. So it's been challenging in some respects. I also believe work culture plays a part. Work culture from the leadership down plays a part. And I think that's why if you see a place where they, retain a lot of women, oftentimes that speaks to their culture, right?
The space you've created,
Yeah, because, sometimes as women, or not sometimes, a lot of times, we're often told, or if we're not told, we're expected to make a choice. But let me make that choice. Don't try to, tell me what I need to do. And I'll make it work, and I have made it work, and I've been successful. So
dope. Yeah. That's powerful. Go check out Mother Vessel podcast on all platforms. Amazing, really good podcast. So now we're gonna take another pivot. Give me a networking gem. you kind of gave one in the beginning when you met the deputy chief in church. So that a big gem is go to church.
Go to the house of the Lord.
Right, because you never know who you gonna meet at church. But
yes, go to
give
the
it
house
give
of
a
the Lord.
networking gem to a undergrad student looking to go into the law, or even a law student looking to go into law. Like, what's a good networking gem that you've used or you
The
found that
way
works?
I network, I always tell people network how it works for you.
Mm-hmm.
Law school, for example, will tell you you have to go to this networking event. You have to go do this. You have to. I don't have time for small talk. Like, I'm not gonna be here talking about your cat and dog. Like, that's just not me.
It is draining. It's
It's
exhausting.
draining. Yeah, and I don't like to be fake. Like, that's just not me, right?
Yeah.
So those were quite intimidating and quite. It was a lot for me, and I didn't find value. But what I did, though, for instance, I would say one of my mentors, she's a sitting judge here in Maryland. I met her at a law school event. There was a panel discussion of alum, and I think she had just been called to the bench in Baltimore City. I hadn't met her before. I just went to the panel discussion, and what she said, like, really, I was like, that representation, you know what I'm talking about? Like, I could see me. Myself. I saw a woman of color, smart, intelligent, carried herself well, and she's successful in her career. So what I did was, after the panel, I went up and introduced myself. Just introduce myself. Hey, I'm a 2L here at UB Law. Thank you so much for coming. And a lot of times attorneys like that, right? And she was like, oh my goodness, like, here's my card. Call me whenever or send me an email. Best believe I did. One thing I do, I follow through with my shot and my network. Like, I'm going to follow through.
I like that.
And I did that. I followed through, and that was back maybe over 10 years ago. And to this day, I can call her, I can email her, I can text her. Awesome. She has introduced me to other attorneys, other judges. For undergraduate students, my advisor in college, one thing I did was that we had a really good relationship. Every 6-8 months after college, I'll just send an email out. Hey, I just thought about you. I hope that you're doing well. Mm-hmm. I've been doing well. I actually just completed, this internship, and it was so great. It made me think of you and so forth. Being genuine, but also keeping that connection. She was the one who offered me my first teaching position. Wow. But that works for me, right? Some people, the networking events, they love it. They thrive in that environment. Not really for me, but I find ways to connect with people. And when they say, hey, send me an email, or hey, give me a call, I'm going to follow through. I'm definitely going to follow through. And you just never know what doors it may open.
Yeah, that's good, because the email one is really good, because a lot of students feel like, and I feel like this in undergrad, where it's like, why am I emailing you if I have nothing to say? Because it sometimes feels like even the update, like, hey, I just got this internship, in your mind you're like, why would they care? Like, I'm not really in a very pro society and profession. You're like, I need to offer you something. I need to be able to give you something so that you can give me something back. So if I'm just telling you that I got an internship, why would you care? Or like, what is that doing for you? But as you said, it is very powerful, and people like to see those things. They like to know that you've been thinking about them to even update them. No, that's really good.
And then when it's time for references, you don't have to scramble because you have your network.
Yep.
And they'll speak for you.
Yeah, no, for real. And even on panels, being an attorney now, I now understand that attorneys love when people come up to them, because I know I would like it too, because we all have egos, we all have our different things. So it's like, for a student to come up to you and say, hey, like, I was interested in what you were saying, you're like, damn, I must be doing something right. It feels reassuring that a student that you were in their position now sees value in something that you've said or something that you've done, that you can pour back into them. So I don't think any attorney would be like, I hope nobody come up to me. Like, I doubt any. Yeah.
No, I still keep in contact with my supervisors at the Supreme Court.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, like,
all right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So now it's time for the closing argument. We talked about a lot. This is the time to close out and give the audience one last gem, one last word of advice, however you want to frame it, to give to the audience. And as you know, you have to incorporate the word of the day. You cannot look it up. No chat GPT, none of that.
My brain is fried. It's been a long day.
Perfect. That means it's gonna come from the heart. It's gonna come real deep.
Oh my goodness. Guys, don't judge me on this.
The word of the day is precipitous. Precipitous.
Oh my God.
Let me make sure I'm getting the pronunciation right. Precipitous.
Closing arguments. The word of the day is precipitous. And this is just anything motivational.
If you want to reflect on something we've talked about in the podcast, anything you want to leave with a young, you could have like an idea of like a young law student or a young undergrad student in your head that you want to impart wisdom on, whatever you want to do.
Okay, so one thing I tell young people, or even just my peers, you belong. When you're in a room, at even, let's say, a boardroom, or even at a conference or whatever, you belong. There's a reason why you have a seat at the table. Do not ever think that, oh, I just happened to get here by chance, or maybe I shouldn't say something because I may sound dumb, I may sound stupid. You belong. Like, I had to really condition my mind, like, I have to have a seat at the table. Like, there's a reason why I have a seat at the table. And I always say, God has placed me somewhere at that time for a specific reason. And you might be on the precipice for a bigger thing, a breakthrough, or an open door, expansion, a new promotion. So never limit the opportunity, the moment, the chance, because you belong. Even if you're in the courtroom, you belong. You might be on the precipice of a favorable verdict. Your future supervisor might be sitting in the gallery and you on the precipice. Now I'm using the word all throughout.
Just run with it. Just run with it.
But no, in all seriousness, like, I tell people, like, you belong. You know, we struggle with imposter syndrome. Like, really, you're just doing that to yourself. Because I'm sure there are a lot of times you're sitting in that room and you're looking at the person, you're like, how did they make it? Because I know I'm smarter. I know I'm more qualified. But we do it to ourselves, right? So you belong. You have a seat at the table. Never doubt that. And even if it's a small beginning, it's going to lead you to something bigger.
Amazing. Maame, ladies and gentlemen. Not only is she a Hall of Famer of the court, she's also a Hall of Famer of this podcast because she used the word correctly. One of the few guests that use the word correctly. Precipitous means extremely steep or hasty and rash. Usage examples include a precipitous cliff or a precipitous fall in sales. So you're at the edge, you're at a steep, at the edge of something, on the precipice. You made it work. I love it. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I know the audience is going to learn a lot from you. No, thank you for being here. This is great.
Thank you. This has been awesome.